Selahcast.
Selah. It means pause and consider.
With
John and
Phil and
Jihan and yes and etc.
Look, I'm just saying, you wouldn't want your mom to overhear this podcast.
Steroids for your ears.
This is what your liberal brain has been hurting for.
The daddy team.
The Eternia.
Burnt pizza slice.
Russian tea.
At Casey's, we know you love creamer in your coffee. We thought we'd cut it short for you and give you the whole bag. Surf's up, bro.
Oh, wait, no.
My friends that are my friends that are my friends that are my friends that are.
For our show.
Hey, wake up! It's Thursday. Let's pray the luminous mysteries together. The ones recommended by Pope John Paul II.
Get luminous, 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 luminous, get luminous, luminous, get luminous, luminous, get luminous, luminous, get luminous.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's another Selahcast day. We get the scowl from Nick. Look at this quick song that Sadie P wrote about it a while ago.
Laugh, quote me on this. Quote, laugh. Be gay, grind. The motto, people. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind. Grind. I always, yay. Quote me on the laugh. Quote me on this. Quote, laugh. Be gay, grind. The motto, people. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind.
I'm just looking for
I always, yay,
for a video.
Quote me on the,
I think I'm just
quote me on the
gonna
laugh. Quote me on this. Quote, laugh. Be gay, grind. The motto, people. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind. Quote me on the laugh, yay, I always grind.
Okay, so we're gonna go through this thing is the SSPX and Schism. A lot of people were checking out in the SidAP, or used to be SidAP Discord, and everyone's talking about it. I haven't watched it yet, but let's share this tab. Share the tab. Okay. So this guy's always funny. He's always, Seth, always with the jokes. Duder comical. We'll see how funny this is. All
right. Welcome back, everyone. We have yet another SSPX video. Today we have Andrew Mione coming back on. Andrew,
Selah. See, it was hilarious. Just saying, hey, we're having an SSPX video.
Doing
good. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. It's good to be back.
Yeah. So this one's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little more of interview style, and it's going to be me kind of playing devil's advocate with Andrew. So Andrew is, his position is that the SSPX is in schism. They are in schism, I should say. So I'm going to kind of give what I think are the best objections and kind of just see how he responds to them. And
I don't understand the difference between the is in schism, are in schism, and if you're the one that's being the devil's advocate, I don't think this funny dude comical guy is actually a fair arbiter of arguing for the SSPX position. But we'll see.
Should be pretty fun. Before we get into the objections, I have almost a dozen objections that we're going to go through. So we're going to try to keep it as quick as we can, but I also want to make sure it's thorough. I think it would be good to go through some preliminary stuff just before we do that. So the first one would be just how are you defining schism? If you're going to say they're in schism, how are you going to define it?
Sure. So schism, I'll just give you the canonical definition. This is Canon 751. And it says schism is the refusal of submission to the Supreme Pontiff or of communion with the members of the church subject to him. That's pretty much verbatim from the Summa. Second part of the second part, question 39. Aquinas says schismatics are those who refuse to submit to the sovereign pontiff and to hold communion with those members of the church who acknowledge his supremacy. It's a pretty universal definition.
Yeah. Seems pretty simple. Yeah. Now, when you say the SSPX is in schism, do you mean the priests and the bishops, anyone who attends, anyone who supports something else?
Yeah, so the long and short of it is, and this I think is, there's a very important distinction to be made here that I don't usually hear and that I think is pretty crucial to the conversation. My stance is essentially that the SSPX as a movement is a schism. It's a schismatic movement, but that doesn't mean that individual people are by default schismatics. And this is not just me arriving at that conclusion on my own. That's actually what Rome has said. Again, tucked away in some very obscure document that's not even translated into English on the Vatican website. So it's kind of hard to dig up. But that is as far as I can deduce is Rome's position is that the movement is a schism. The people are not de facto schismatics just because they happen to attend an SSPX chapel.
Selah, I don't believe that makes any sense. Does anyone think that makes any sense? The movement itself is in schism. So, like, if I belong to the Communist Party, but I myself am not a communist. My movement is communist, but I belong to it, but I'm not communist. What? Am I ignorant? Is it the invincible ignorant thing again? Ignorance again? It's like the thing that could be.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now I know, so excommunication and schism are not the same, but they highly overlap, I would say. Do you happen to know how you would distinguish the two?
I would think so, yeah. Schism is a theological and canonical offense, whereas excommunication is more of a penalty.
Penalty.
How is that even a question? 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 They're two different things.
Defense. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So it can be imposed
So,
by an authority, or it can kind of be self-inflicted.
Correct.
If that's the right term to use. Yeah, you can incur an excommunication by the whatever act just by default, or it can be incurred by a declaration.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't necessarily say every priest in the society is excommunicated, or maybe you're unsure. Like I'm not the Pope. I don't know. Exactly.
I mean, I'll get into the citation, but that's it's something that I don't consider myself to be in a position to make that judgment call.
Totally fair.
But
yeah.
there is a quote in that document, in that declaration, that very clearly speaks to that. And so,
what was the question?
There's.
I'm not the Pope. I don't know. Exactly.
It's. I mean, I'll be incurred by a declaration.
Okay.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't necessarily say every priest in the society is excommunicated.
If the movement itself is in schism, at least you can claim that the priests are not invincibly ignorant. Why is this a hard question? If you believe that that's true, then they've excommunicated themselves. Right? Why is this tough? When they said the people, they probably mean, I would imagine they meant laymen were doing it out of ignorance, not the priest. But then he'd have to justify, why did they give them the ability to forgive sins and things like that if they are excommunicated, I guess. Maybe that's where his brain is going tilt here. It's like...
Or maybe you're unsure. Like I'm not the Pope. I don't know. Exactly.
It's. I mean, I'll get into the citation, but that's it's something that I don't consider myself to be in a position to make that judgment call.
Totally fair.
But
yeah.
there is a.
But you are. You just did. You, Selah, you did make the judgment call at the very beginning. Anyone who's in schism, because they're in the movement that's a schism, automatically excommunicates themselves. It doesn't need a declaration, right? And according to you, it's already been declared that the movement is in schism. And so if you're a priest in the SSPX, then you are schismatic. But why does the Pope give them faculties then if they're excommunicated? And they say, I don't get it.
A quote in that document, in that declaration, that very clearly speaks to that. And so there's context there. Yeah.
Gotcha. And this term canonically irregular comes up a lot. Do you find that's a useful term? Is it a real term? Is it basically just a way of saying schism, or is it something different?
Canonically irregular is, I mean, it's a term, but I feel like people think it's this kind of like hard and fast definition of like, there's like degrees of, there's like, everything is fine. And then there's...
Selah, he goes, canonically irregular, it's a term. But it doesn't mean everything is fine. What? Just tell us what the term means. Why are you telling us what it doesn't mean?
Canonically irregular, and then it's like a, they kind of treat it like it's its own distinct thing when that's really not the case. I mean, anything or anyone could be canonically irregular. I mean, it's like, I kind of think
anything, Selah, anything or anyone can be canonically irregular. I don't think I can be canonically irregular. Because it doesn't matter what I do. And I'm not in... Well, maybe I can. I don't know.
Think of like, if you have like a business that's kind of like cutting corners legally, that's kind of the equivalent of like canonically irregular. Like it's not, it's kind of legally on shaky ground, but it's not, strictly speaking, you know,
These are really bad analogies.
I don't know if I'm explaining it super well.
No, I got you. Well, it's interesting because I've heard some people, I've heard people on both sides kind of quibble with it because it's like, we're not in schism, we're canonically irregular. But then other people will be like, well, either we're in schism or we're not. Like, what are you saying? And then, you know, people on the opposing side would be like, well, you're canonically irregular, so that means you're not in communion. So it's like, so.
Right. Yeah.
And Selah, there's another point. You're not in communion. If you're in schism and you're in a movement that's in schism, you're not in communion. Obviously, because you put yourself outside of communion when you become schismatic. That's what I mean. But then they hang the picture of the Pope in the SSPX chapel, and they say his name in the liturgy. So I don't understand what the argument here is.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Canonically irregular, I think, is distinct from communion, because then it gets into the whole like full communion, partial communion, imperfect communion, you know, that whole debate. And from what I can tell, I think people are extrapolating the term partial communion from the term full communion. They hear full, and you know, they say you're not in full communion, and they think, well, that must mean we're in like partial or like some kind of, if it's not full, it's kind of like halfway there. I think they're just pulling that out of the term full communion because I don't know of any strict canonical definition of partial communion.
I was just gonna say, I know Lumen Gentium talks about, like, I think it says imperfect communion. That's the term they use to talk about Protestants. So there's a sense of like, it's not like, oh, partial communion, kind of, I don't know. That's maybe it's a separate thing.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of, imperfect communion has always been used in the context of non-Catholic entities like the Orthodox or Protestants or something. It hasn't been used in the context of, Catholic groups. So I think there's kind of some wires crossing here of people like mashing terms together and equating them when I don't think that's the best way to go about it. But yeah.
Okay. I think we're ready to get started. So, objection 1.
Selah.
So
they actually haven't started yet. How many minutes are they in? Hold on. 6 minutes. They laid a foundation where they said, I will define nothing. Everything is like loose, and I can tell you what it doesn't mean, but I'm not going to tell you what the term means. And now let's begin.
A formal schism requires a declaration from the church similar to formal heresy. And this is why, for example, the German bishops are technically not in schism, even though they're doing some weird stuff. So for the same reason, the SSPX are not in schism because it hasn't been formally declared.
Okay, so response to objection 1. There is a formal declaration, and there is a subsequent confirmation of that formal declaration.
Okay.
So the formal declaration would be in Ecclesia Dei, issued right after the consecrations of the SSPX bishops. Let me find the exact paragraph, and I will.
By the way, we're gonna put all the sources in the. Either we'll put them all individually in the description, or we'll make like a Google Doc and put it in for everything that's cited today.
Yeah, definitely. So this is Ecclesia Dei, paragraph 5C.
Brian. I always, yay. Quote me on this. Laugh. Quote me on this. Quote, laugh. Be gay, Brian. The motto, people. Quote me on this. Laugh. Yay. I always, Brian. Quote me on this. Laugh. Yay. I always, Brian. Quote me on this. Laugh. Yay. I always, Brian.
In the present circumstances, I wish especially to make an appeal, both solemn and heartfelt, paternal and fraternal, to all those who until now have been linked in various ways to the movement of Archbishop Lefebvre. And let's highlight that term movement because it's important here. So that they may fulfill the grave duty of remaining united to the Vicar of Christ in the unity of the Catholic Church and of ceasing their support in any way for that movement. Again, the word movement here. And then he says, everyone should be aware that formal adherence to the schism is a grave offense against God and carries the penalty of excommunication decreed by the Church's law. Okay, so he says, calls it a movement twice, and he says formal adherence to the schism in the context of the movement, right? So that was in 1988. This is a mouthful. Pontifical Council for the Interpretation of Legislative Texts, which is now mercifully called the Dicastery for Legislative Texts, issued a kind of a follow-up confirmation. This was, let me get the exact date. This was, where is it? August 24th, 1996 is when they issued this. This document is not translated into English on the Vatican website. And to get to the Dicastery for Legislative Texts website, you have to go down some really obscure rabbit holes. This document is really hard to find, but you can find it translated into English on catholicculture.org.
Okay, cool.
So here's what the Dicastery for Legislative Texts said about that paragraph 5C. So they said, in effect, the motu proprio, Ecclesia Dei, explains the nature of the, quote, doctrinal root of this schismatic act and warns in 5C that a formal adherence to the schism, by which one must understand the movement of Archbishop Lefebvre, would bring with it the excommunication established by the universal law of the Church. So they say the schism is the movement of Archbishop Lefebvre. And then they said, going on down to paragraph 3 of this document, unfortunately, the schismatic act which gave rise to the motu proprio and the decree did no more than draw to a conclusion in a particularly visible and unequivocal manner, with a most grave formal act of disobedience to the Roman pontiff, a process of distancing from hierarchical communion. Okay, this is the big this is it right here.
Okay.
Nobody knows about this document, but they really should. So they said, quote, as long as there are no changes which may lead to the reestablishment of this necessary communion, the whole Lefebvrean movement is to be held schismatic in view of the existence of a formal declaration by the supreme authority on this matter.
Okay.
So they said the whole movement is schismatic due to the fact that there is a formal declaration by the Pope, which is Ecclesia Dei, 5C. So that's what they're saying. The movement is a schism. Now, let me get to because naturally people are going to object about that and the connection with, because I know that there's this implication that if that's a schism, then, we're calling people schismatics.
Right.
Not the case. And Rome went on to clarify that's not the case.
Scylla. What is going on? This is very confusing. Do words not mean what they mean anymore? And he's like buying into it too. This guy's like, well, obviously they're in schism. I mean, they just said it, right? But it doesn't mean that they are schismatic. What? This is just too dumb. And actually, the whole situation is dumb. Reminds me of this.
Much ink has been spilled on the question of the old Catholic Church. There are many that say, are they schismatic? Is they illicit? Did JP3 excommunicate? We mix up the history, so teleprompter, get over here. Anyway, are they excommunicated by the Pope? I mean, we have the many canon lawyers who say, well, not the Pope, when the Pope excommunicate us, but you see, when Pope mean, that is mean to get it
y'all.
Back to work.
Watch your words.
Okay. And you know, like, sorry, I have to get the prompter back up, guys. Was Forley a renegade? I mean, many, they just see debates won and like lost. But communion is like, the grave. And, yes, the Gallican, they was condemned, but communion, communion, it makes sense. And, but you see, it's like how, I believe in God, but like, it's just, self-evident. That's why we have to make 10-minute long videos. Ignore that tangent. Jeremiah Bannister, you filthy heretic, you're inserting this into my teleprompter. I make original content. You see, it's like the passion of the church that JP3 was talking about, and the catechism after Vatican. Ignore that.
Yeah.
It's just self-evident. I mean, either you have brains,
This is pretty much what the whole thing was.
and be like me. I mean, like you, dumb, schismatic. I just remembered that some people think I'm stupid, and then saying it's self-evident doesn't work. Anyway, guys, ignore that. I mean, we're gonna now, basically mock the memory of the saints, claiming, that supposedly.
All right, let's go back to let's go. Now that we've cleared ourselves, let's go back.
So they said, as the motu proprio declares in paragraph 5c, the excommunication late sententia for schism regards those who adhere formally to the said schismatic movement. Again, that word movement. So they said, even if the question of the exact import of the notion of formal adherence to the schism would be a matter for the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, but it seems to this pontifical council that such formal adherence would have to imply two complementary elements. A, one of internal nature consisting in a free and informed agreement with the substance of the schism. In other words, the choice made in such a way of the followers of Archbishop Lefebvre, which puts such an option.
Peter fled. This means that John the Apostle, of course, fled Peter. Somehow, this works. And if you don't think so, you are stupid. Anyway, and like, one time Pope said things were like bad. So like, Malay, the hero was like, yeah, I'm gonna stop this. And then he was oppressed. They were like, get down, Varley, give us your lunch money. And Varley was like, no. And then we were like, yeah.
At the root of this attitude, there will usually be positions contrary to the magisterium of the church. And B, the other of an external character consisting in the externalizing of this option, the most manifest sign of which will be the exclusive participation in Lefebvrean ecclesial acts, so SSPX masses, without taking part in the acts of the Catholic Church. One is dealing, however, with a sign that is not univocal, since there is the possibility that a member of the faithful may take part in the liturgical functions of the followers of Lefebvre, but with...
It never happened to me. I never got subtended with and something self-evident. Whenever I repeat self-evident, I think, wow, that's like self-evident. And during,
univocal, since there is the possibility that a member of the faithful may take part in the liturgical functions of the followers of Lefebvre, but without...
See, possibility. There's a possibility that there's a person out there in the SSPX that doesn't realize what the SSPX is really all about. And because of that possibility, they're not schismatic in a schismatic movement. Yay! Oh, look, we got a friend of the show. Fill me up.
What's the name of the channel you're streaming on?
Bookie Books? Bookie Books?
What? How did I get to this place? What happened? What happened?
The Selahcast and the Phil channel are all filled up with 40 hours, over 43 hours Selahcast for the month. So we're not going to be able to like stream from them until like next July.
You're insane.
So we have to open up new channels. Yay!
You're, oh no. So what did we learn so far today?
Nothing. We what we learn is that there's a lot of terms, right?
Mhm.
None of which they give a definition to, but they'll
Okay.
tell you what it doesn't mean, and they'll say the SSPX is schismatic. It has been declared schismatic, but the people in it aren't in schism, because it could be that they don't know. And even though if you're in schism, you automatically excommunicate yourself, that doesn't mean all the priests are excommunicated either.
Mhm.
Yeah. Does any of this make any sense? Why? It's like such a waste of time even talking about it, because none of it makes any sense.
That's right.
All right, let's keep going.
Outgoing
Oh,
along with their
Selah.
schismatic spirit.
By the way, it's so cold over here. I'm wearing a sweatshirt and long pants.
Oh my goodness, it's like it was 100 here, and now it's going to be 104 tomorrow.
Oh, no. I think the high was 60.
Wow, I'd love that.
Dude,
That would
it's
be
so
nice.
freaking cold. When I got up on a Sunday morning, it was 37 when I said morning prayers.
Oh my goodness,
bad.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. It was so cold I
Yeah.
couldn't be outside.
Yeah, but that'll keep you up, right? You're not falling asleep. 37
I
degrees.
just go under. Usually I'm sleeping with just the sheet because I'm a warm person in bed, and I've
Uh-huh.
got the blankets up over my nose.
All right. Here we go.
Here we go.
So what Roma said there is a formal declaration of schism.
Uh-huh.
The Pope has come from the Pope, and we're just confirming it here.
Mm-hmm.
There is the penalty of excommunication for schism
Mm-hmm.
when certain criteria for formal adherence are met, and those criteria are if you put the Lefebvrean mindset, if you put Archbishop Lefebvre above the Pope, if you defer to the SSPX above the authority of the Pope, and if you exclusively participate in SSPX masses and don't participate in mass with the rest of the church at all.
Mhm.
So that's
So wait, so that's every SSPX person that ever lived.
Yeah, unless you go to the gay mass, you're automatically a schismatic.
That
right?
That's
what
do
I'm
you know-
going to say on Thursday.
Oh, you're going to review this?
No, I'm going to review the Nick saying all the gay mass people are out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, why not?
But if he doesn't go to one, he can't. He's truly in schism at that point.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he has a position of doubting whether it's real.
Oh,
but he doesn't have the authority to say whether it's real or not. But
yeah,
he
but
just
he can-
doubts it
That's good enough, right?
negatively.
That's the way it works, I think.
Yeah, I doubt my relationship with most women. Doesn't mean I stop talking to him.
Yay!
The key here is that, again, the movement, the organization is a schism. People are not necessarily schismatics because they happen to attend. There has to be objective, formal adherence to the schism.
Selah, but people that tend to go to the SSPX are exclusively SSPX. There is no. So what's this? Who is this hypothetical person that
You?
is not even a minority? Well, I've attended one or twice, but
Oh, it's you. It's talking about you, Phil. You didn't know any better. Oh, Phil, please come back to the church.
Well-
We still like you.
no, but like I'd go again. I mean, if they if they have what is it called? Faculties?
Yeah.
Then I don't care.
Yeah, you're going to be a normal person? You're not allowed to be a normal person in today. You got to find and devoutly go to only the masses that your bishop tells you must go to, I think. Except on Tuesdays. I don't know how it works.
I don't know how it works. But
Hey,
it doesn't,
did you look
it doesn't
at,
make any
John,
sense.
John Farrell's video he uploaded today?
Oh, John Farrell got... No, I didn't see that. We got to do that. I'm going to stop this trash.
Andrew Molini guy, or Mioni?
We're going to go see friend of the show, John Farrell.
Yeah.
That's what we got to see. But,
Yay!
hold on. I'm trying to find something here. Arg. Okay.
So I cut up the Father Imperato video where he defeats sedevacantism. And I put a clip from Big Trouble in Little China in there. The part where they're in the elevator after they take the medicine, and he's like, I feel kind of invincible. Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Let's find it. Oh, have you seen this one yet? This Luminous Mystery thing? We'll play this one.
Yeah, I love it.
It's Thursday. Let's pray the luminous mysteries together. The ones recommended by Pope John Paul II.
Get luminous, 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 luminous, get luminous, luminous, get luminous.
Get luminous.
I love the internet. It's one of the funniest things ever.
Lila Miller enables divorce by privatizing the public contract.
Yay.
This is the era of our day, and she's no exception to what's going on with her new article from Catholic Answers, 6 Uncomfortable Facts About Divorce. I had to bring this up because this is the era that hides, and it actually makes things really bad because Lila is so good and everything she does, everybody loves her. She says so many good things, but she effectively enables divorce because she says it's just mental. It's between your ears. It's what you want to do as long as you know it's not ending your divorce. And I will be fair on this. We're going to go through it, comb through her article, and I'm going to expose the main error, which nobody gets. All right.
All right.
And by the end of this video, none of us
He
will.
put some Selah. He put some timestamps in the video.
He does?
Yeah, in the drop-down box.
So you don't want to listen to the whole thing. You want to.
Well, wait. We actually have a time, I guess, to listen to an hour of it.
Yeah.
No, but we usually talk over it anyway, so it's not like we'll get through the whole thing.
Let me give it a thumbs up. My good old friend of the show, annulment proof.
Say her name or mispronounce it wrong again. I'm John Farrell. This is Annulment Proof, the only place on YouTube where marriage gets defined.
Layla, Layla, Layla. Layla, 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 Layla. L-E-I-L-A. L-E-I-L-A.
What is
Layla, 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 Layla.
Totally, bro. I am seriously guilty of that. I called her Lila forever. She and I used to get along okay, and then I think our relationship has broken down just a tad, to put it mildly. Hey, listen, there's some stuff that we get wrong about divorce. It's really easy to do, and I've got to straighten it out. She's been saying this stuff for years, but it sounds so good because she says everything right, you might say. But there's one little kernel of a problem, and it undercuts everything. Even Babe McFarlane showed it, so I gotta get to it. Let's go to her article, shall we? and we'll go through this. Hopefully, it won't take too gosh darn long. There it is. Lila Miller enables divorce, and like I said in the background here, she's saying essentially that it's kind of between your ears. As long as you think you're doing the right thing, you're not ending your marriage, it's going to be okay. P.S. Let's continue a second. Anyway, let's go back. Here we go. Okay, now let's see what she says. Okay, here. Divorce itself is not a sin. That's exactly right. This is what she like I said, she says so many good things, but the real problem here is there's one thing that's wrong. We're going to get to it. Divorce itself is a sin. Correct. That's right. Divorce itself is a sin all on its own. Okay.
Selah.
There has never been a time.
Selah. A host of the show, Jihan. Yay! Welcome, Jihan.
So is this Jihan's channel we're streaming on?
Hey.
No, this is like an old Bookie Books channel.
Hey, what channel are you guys streaming at?
Bookie Books. I sent the thing in the thing.
I mean, all right. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you for joining the show, Jihan.
Time in church history when divorce. I'm reading our articles just word for word, okay? There's never been a time in church history when divorce, defined as a spouse's willing and express attempt to break the marital contract, has been morally permissible. Yeah, I guess that's true. Divorce has never been permissible. You can't break that contract. But we'll get to that in a minute, all right? Okay, then I've added that this is, I'm going to kind of get to where some of the problems is with what she's saying. CC 2384. By the way, there's one little typo, Layla, in the article, right? In 20, she calls it 3284.
I always, yay. Quote me on this. Laugh. Quote me on this. Quote, laugh. Be gay and do grind. The motto, people. Quote me on this. Laugh. Yay. I always grind. Quote me on this. Laugh. Yay. I always grind. Quote me on this. Laugh. Yay. I always grind.
Inserted this. It says divorce is a grave offense against natural law. Now,
yay.
Something that she does not discern about,
Natural
but there's two
law.
divorces. The word divorce in the Catholic Church, or in reality, means two different things. There's divorce from bed and board, and there's divorce from the bond. In Latin, it's mensa et thoro. Divorce, mensa et thoro, is a grave offense against natural law. So when you separate the couple, when they're not living in the same house,
mensa et thorax.
House, that is when you're violating the natural law. It's the separation.
No.
The contract. Mensa et thoro. Bread or aboard, bread and butter.
Quote me on this. Quote me on this.
From bed and board. So divorce is a sin against natural law when you separate from bed and board. Okay. It claims to break the contract to which spouses freely consented to live with each other till death. So that's right. You are saying I'm going to separate the contract that I consented to. That's a violation of nature, and we're going to get to this in a minute. Why Layla, pardon me, is essentially admitting this doesn't exist. It has a lot to do with NFP and family, and of course, divorce a vinculo. I put that in the parentheses. A vinculo means the bond. Does injury to the covenant of salvation, which is a sacramental. Which sacramental marriage is a sign. So when you read 2384, Layla, you've got to distinguish between the two types of divorce. The part that offends natural law, which is the separation, physical, okay? And then you have to talk about divorce, which a vinculo, from the bond, which does injury to the covenant of salvation and does not violate natural law. So you can get a divorce as long as you are living together just as married people and you're not violating natural law, you're giving scandal because it's doing injury to the covenant of salvation. You're saying Christ and the church are separate, or in the public, in civil law. So, and at the
Selah.
same time, you can.
What if they're using the same YouTube account? Is that also a scandal?
Scandalous. You must change YouTube accounts every other day.
No, you just can't share a YouTube account with someone. That's being
Oh,
like.
I agree. I think that's
What's the opposite of monogamous with YouTube accounts?
onism.
Yeah, it's
Onism.
YouTube onanism.
There you go.
You can give up the contract but still be married. So separation with the bond remaining. That's the offense against natural law unless it's done correctly. And we're going to get down to that, and we're going to get to where the problem is. All right.
Let's get to
okay.
We're not going anywhere right
let's
now.
see. So she goes through here and talks about what Jesus says about divorce, and that's good. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Consider these words carefully. The natural law is another name for God's moral law. Yes.
Read
great
on,
offense.
brother.
Okay,
Read on.
Now,
read on.
Then she says remarriage after divorce adds to the sin. So she's correct about this because it's that mantra. It's not, divorce is not the sin, just remarriage. No, no, no. There's a reason why everyone says this, though, and it's because of family planning, which I will get to. From what I know, from what I've heard, Layla Miller, is kind of she's hip to theology of the body and family planning. I can't find a lot of evidence of that, but I have heard it. I assume it's true.
Hold on.
All right. Remarriage after divorce. Yeah. Okay. Now the catechism. Okay. So she says divorce is the first sin. That's right. And remarriage, that is adultery, is the second exacerbating sin. So divorce is the first sin. But wait, doesn't the church allow some divorce? Layla Miller, let's find that out. Okay. Number 3, civil divorce may be tolerated by the church in rare cases, but never for the intent to end the marriage. There's the huge allow some divorce. Layla Miller, let's find that out. Okay. Number 3, civil divorce may be tolerated by the church in rare cases, but never for the intent to end the marriage. There's the huge problem right there that no one is confronting her on.
Selah.
All meant.
Civil divorce may be tolerated in rare cases, but never with the intent to end the marriage. So he's just saying that you go to to your lawyer down there, get divorced, but in the eyes of the church, you're still really married, but in the eyes of the world, you're not. So it just frees your spouse to commit adultery against you, right? But you're not
Or is
sinning,
it
so
done
you're all
for
good.
like money reasons, maybe?
Yeah, money. Oh wait, no, not that character. I don't know. That's right.
So, Layla Miller, as in the song Layla by Derek and the Dominoes, makes the public sin of divorce private by saying, adjunct your own case as long as you know the bond remains after the kids are headed over to the state. I don't know what that means. Okay, never mind. That's just something he wrote on Twitter, so I don't know. Let's play.
Mental. Got that? Divorce is mental. That's what she's saying. Hello? No. Can't do that. Bad. But never for the intent to end the marriage. Marriage is governed by natural law. The contract is natural law.
You can tell
living
Selah,
together with your wife.
You can tell he talks to his dogs too much. He's like, no, bad. No. It's like, have you not talked to humans in a while, sir?
Wife and kids, nature, natural law has nothing to do with what's going on between your ears. If I'm intending to break that or not, it doesn't make any difference. And it's similarly with NFP.
Selah, if there's one thing I've learned about Catholicism. It's your intention. It means everything.
I know. Wait, there's a new Kennedy Hall video. Can I just watch
What?
Japanese commercial?
Japanese baseball cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Oh no, Korean. Never mind.
Okay.
Oh well.
Fathers, find your strength through sacrifice. Dear
No.
Lord. That was 8 days ago, but he's still wearing that same gay pink shirt. Why does he like that gay pink shirt?
He's like, yeah. He keeps like smelling under his arm and going, no, still good. Still good. Hasn't taken it off. Like a month.
Conjugal act is bound by natural law, and if you intend to be open to life while you're trying to not be, it's the same thing. This is kind of why these two are related. Okay. I'm going to push pause and think this over for a minute. Yes, on my other videos, I've said, increase and multiply is natural law. Can't be violated, okay? But if you have an intention to not violate it, and then you use your...
Now the primary end of marriage is now natural law? I can never figure out what he's doing with these terms. I tell you, he needs to get like an almanac. And like whenever he says the term, like 4 other words come up that could be used as substitutes. So then you know exactly what he means.
That's right.
Okay, I can keep going. I was being picky.
NFP, it's okay, right? This is why contraception is going to follow at some point. So similarly, we can change nature based on what's going on between our ears. We can say we have a grave cause and it's fine. Okay. So similarly with the natural contract of marriage, if we have a grave cause if we think it's okay in our mind, we can change the nature. That's where those two things are connected. Okay. But wait, doesn't the church allow some divorce? Civil divorce may be tolerated by the church in rare cases, but never for the intent of end of the marriage. Okay. Most Catholics ordained and lay don't realize that the church allows civil divorce only if the innocent spouse, needs legal protections, quite literally cannot be obtained by any other means. Who is the innocent spouse? The innocent spouse is the one who is publicly innocent, not privately innocent. Layla Miller basically has come down to marriage is a private affair, and the innocent spouse is the one who is determined by themselves to be the innocent spouse, which is everybody. Okay, nobody gets divorced and says I'm the guilty spouse. If civil divorce, this is 2383. This is the little.
I'm guilty.
Take me away. Throw away the keys.
All right, let's see what this has.
I'm going to do a quick 10 to 12 minute video. Can I go that short? I hope so, because I got to jump on a call in about 20 minutes and I wanted to answer a question from the chat because it's a good question. So I'm going to get to that now. And this question is from our subscriber only chat. So if you are someone who is seeing this video, it's because it's been released for everyone, but usually these question answer things are reserved for the chat. But I wanted to give everybody out there sort of a free preview if you're interested. And this question is as follows. It says, I have a question. A dear friend of mine and her husband have been going to the Sedevacantist chapel. And through our discussion, she mentioned they were reconfirmed. I didn't know how to respond to this.
Selah.
They have an...
You should, first of all, they shouldn't be confirming animals. Your dear friend should not be going to any mass, as a matter of fact. Nor does that bishop have any authority over that deer.
SSPX chapel less than an hour away from them, but her husband became connected with the Sedevacantists, and they travel only once a month. So basically the question is, we have friends, traditionalists who went Sedevacantist, and they seem to be stuck to that, and they won't go anywhere else for mass, and they were also, quote unquote, reconfirmed. So I'm going to link underneath this, which is like
reconfirmed is the wrong term. It's conditionally confirmed. He literally doesn't even know the terms.
Well, conditionally, yeah, and I think they do the same thing like in the Eastern Orthodox. If you and anytime you're switching from one bishop to another, you pretty much do get chrismated on that, right? I mean, it's not a if you're changing from one church to another, usually
Only when they want you to.
You get chrismed, you know. So
Only
that's
when
a
they want you to.
confirmation.
No.
I don't know.
Because if you're joining the Russian Orthodox from the Anglican, you don't require a profession of faith, but you do if you're doing it from the Latins. It's just random things you find on the internet.
I mean, profession of faith is like you do that every Sunday anyway, right? I mean,
yeah, but you have to abjure errors. Abjure.
All right, play.
Like 2 hours long, and it's about the validity of Novus Ordo sacraments from a traditional perspective.
Dang it.
Because that's really the heart of...
There we go. He's like, look into my eyes. My beautiful eyes.
Oh, your eyes are so beautiful.
Hey, that blue shirt, that's the exact same copy as your pink shirt. You bought it in pink and blue.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, honey, this shirt fits me. Hey, they got one in blue, too.
What I have to do is zoom up on the shirt. Like, just ignore whatever he's saying and just talk about his clothes.
Of the matter. And we'll discuss the state of the contest opinion sort of as we go here. But the video is by Father Hess, Father Gregory Hess, who was an Austrian priest, and he was great on all this stuff. And I'll put underneath because he gives like a 2-hour deep dive, so you can really get more. However, let's discuss this briefly. What does it mean to even be reconfirmed, so to speak? Well, there has been, and there is doubt about how some of the sacraments have been done in the Novus Ordo since the changes after the Second Vatican Council. And we should look at each sacrament kind of individually because some of them are kind of more complicated than others. There's more involved, you know, Mass, for example, celebrating Mass properly and actually having the holy sacrifice of the Mass, of course, requires a validly ordained Catholic priest who has the right matter, so the right type of wine, the right type of bread.
Oh, just get to it.
He needs to say the right words with the right intention. So there's a lot more involved with that
Always
than,
intention.
for example, something like baptism.
What are the right words you have to say, Kennedy Hall? Did you know Paul VI changed these? And that's why Lefebvre said he didn't know if it was Mass. Well, no, you're just not going to say it because it's going to offend your traditionalist Novus Ordos that you publicly clown their Mass and say, I'll never go to that.
It's crazy.
This guy is such a coward. If he could do anything without being a coward, I would be surprised.
Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes. Do you see his eyes? See those? Yes.
Oh, yes. They are water blue. Gray.
Look into my eyes and become an SSPX schismatic like me.
I am becoming one. I will go get in the car.
Don't you want to be schismatic too?
I want to be.
Yeah. Which I don't think he's schismatic. Whatever.
No, I think he's heretical. I don't think he's schismatic.
Yeah.
Well, who's he in schism with?
I don't know.
The Francis isn't, or no, Leo is in union with everyone. So I don't know how you are in schism with them.
He's like in one, with one, all one, in the one, with the one.
A1. Steak sauce.
Anyone can baptize anyone as long as they have water, and they do so in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
We get A1 steak sauce.
There's a little more to it than that. I mean, you know, there's debate about what could be the intention and things like that, but it's a pretty simple sacrament to do, which is why historically, for example, nurses, even non-Catholic nurses who would work in Catholic hospitals, would be instructed in how to do emergency baptisms of like babies and stuff because
get to your point.
They're baptizing stuff as well.
One soul, and it didn't require a priest to do so. The same thing is true with marriage. You can be married without a priest witnessing your marriage validly. And the stipulations for that are in the new code of
No,
canon law
no,
as well as older
bad,
material,
bad.
and it can be done in front of witnesses only. Now, to do so without a reason that constitutes a grave inconvenience is not permitted. Nonetheless, it doesn't actually require a priest to be there for your marriage per se to be valid. That's a whole other discussion. But when it comes to confirmation, what's required for a confirmation to be valid?
Finally, we get to it, huh?
Well, there, of course, is the necessity to have a bishop, or in some cases, to have a priest. So priests can baptize if they've been given delegation by their bishops or superior of some sort to do so in certain circumstances. So often in a big diocese with lots of...
A priest can baptize no matter what.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he just switched the topic. Maybe he's not unaware of it.
What? What? Does he? I don't know if a priest can sometimes baptize. No, they can. No matter what, they can baptize. They're a priest.
That's right.
I mean, in an emergency situation, a layman can, but the priest, that's standard. That's normal.
Yeah.
Even a deacon, normal. Well,
No,
the
no.
deacon needs permission from the bishop, though, I think.
The deacon needs express permission written down on a piece of paper with the words, "I grant you the power." Do you think he actually plays that piano, or he just has it in the hope that his kids will play it?
I don't know. The light is on. See the...
Yeah.
So it's turned on.
Maybe he's going to play it towards the end, and that's why Grover wanted us to watch this.
Okay.
Catholics, a bishop will allow the priests of various parishes to perform confirmations, or it will be given to the auxiliary bishop, for example, to go around and do...
Yeah, Selah, confirmations for sure. You need the bishop's permission, because that's supposed to be the bishop's job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do that. In some dioceses where there are a bunch of different auxiliary bishops, because it's a huge diocese like LA or something like that, there might be 3 or 4 auxiliary bishops who go around doing confirmations, but they're not the ordinary of the diocese, but they have the permission from the bishop to act as bishops, as they have the power of order given to them by their consecration in order to do the sacrament. So that's number 1, having a valid bishop or a priest with delegation.
Hold on.
Now,
what he just said there is actually a hyper-technical thing that's been debated now for weeks on end, if not years on end, upon how one gets the authority to administer the sacraments as a bishop. Does one specifically for him? And he just brushes over that. That's extremely controversial, and he doesn't seem to understand what he just said. Because he literally just claimed that if a bishop's consecrated, he can just go confirm anyone he wants. In other words, all bishops have ordinary jurisdiction just by virtue of their being consecrated a bishop, and not by virtue of it being granted by Rome. Which, then again, we're stuck in the same SSPX problem. Why do we need to ask Rome for permission when we apparently always have the permission? What was it?
What about the material and the ritual? Well, there are various rituals of confirmation in the church.
No.
There are Eastern Rite rituals and there are Western Rite rituals. There's the traditional order of confirmation, which is used by traditional Catholics in the Western rites. And then there's also the Eastern Rite confirmations, as I said, and there's also the Novus Ordo rite of confirmation. Now, don't quote me on this with exactitude, but generally speaking, the new rite of confirmation
why does he say anything?
is largely, in many ways, a translation of the Byzantine rite of ordination. If I'm not mistaken, it's Byzantine. I think it was the Byzantine one. And basically made into a more English version. And that's more or less what's done in the Novus Ordo. So it's my opinion, and this is based on Father Hess's opinion and other theologians I've talked to, traditional priests and whatnot, that there isn't really a dispute about whether or not the rite per se of new rite ordination or new rite confirmations is valid on paper. I don't object to it being valid.
Valid on paper or valid in reality?
But the issue about where confirmations have been invalid largely stems from a couple things.
Okay.
So the state of a contest will, depending on the brand of state of a contest, will largely argue that there's an invalidity because there's no valid priests, because there's this belief that basically all new rite ordinations and so forth, that some Sedevacantists or some Sedevacantists view that basically all new rite ordinations as such are invalid. So there's no priest in the Novus Ordo anyway, unless they were validly ordained in the old way, according to some Sedevacantist thinkers. But the real issue comes down to how in a lot of Novus Ordo settings, I don't know the number, but it's common, there have been issues with the material used, with the matter. So since time immemorial, the oil used for the oil necessary for confirmations was always olive oil. And at a certain point, permissions were given to use oil made from other vegetable matter.
Huh?
And why is that important? Well, for example, in the Mass, you can't use apple wine. You can't use blueberry wine. You have to use wine. And why? Well, although
You have to use wine. I'm whining. Is he retarded? Does he know where wine comes from? Grover is right. That was actually a Kennedy call. Wait, what's our timestamp right now?
Oh, 6:58.
Okay.
Wine. Have you never heard of blueberry wine? I don't know, man. It should be olive oil. Do they let them use like canola oil or whatever? What is he talking about? For real?
Yeah, in the Novus Ordo.
It should be
Novus
olive
Ordo.
oil.
They're all bonkers in the Novus Ordo. They don't care.
But why? Olive oil is just as readily available as any other oil.
Because they're all retarded. You can't use
just to be
apple
different.
wine. I don't know.
Okay.
One could argue that wine is a type of fermentation process. So in a sense, you can make fruit wine. You know, it's very common around here. A lot of Dutch farmers and German farmers and stuff who've brought over their traditions of making like blueberry wine and apple wine and things like that. And they're great. I mean, if you love drinking those things, that's awesome. And they can be quite tasty. But it's not the wine that is talked about in the Bible. And it's also not what was used ever in the mind of the theologians and the leaders of the church when basically, and in the mind of Christ, when prescribing what is necessary for these sacraments. So
Selah. Also, like it's biblical, you know, like I am the vine, you are the clusters of the vine, you know, like it's all wrapped together, and I don't understand.
No.
Why
I'm the wine and you are the clusters of the vine?
The vine. The vine. Not the wine. Did you hear wine? I said vine. I can't. But also
I can't.
But
yeah.
It's just very biblical to use grapes, you know, and olive oil is very, I mean, it's in the Bible. Like, it's constant.
Maybe. I'm going to mute for a sec.
I don't know.
Keep going. Just play a video. I'm going to
in some cases, there have been matter. There has been matter that has been used in new rite confirmations over the last. Right, changed, which is dubious, because it doesn't seem like it's a good idea to use matter that was never used in historically to do a sacrament out of nowhere. Now, you will find arguments for and against that, but the arguments don't settle the debate, and there still is this doubt. And when we have a doubtful sacrament, then it's prudent to seek out something that's not doubtful, to seek out certainty. So many people over the years, they have inquired to their bishops, to their chancery office and so forth, and said, this is after they've discovered Catholic tradition, and they've asked, hey, what do you
discovered it under a rock?
What oil do you use for your confirmations? And they'll say, oh, we'll use vegetable oil. Well, in that case, many Catholics have been conditionally confirmed. So it's not a reconfirmation in the sense that, you get a sacrament.
Well, he knows
that you're
it.
only
See,
supposed to
he
get
said
once
it.
Twice.
Conditionally confirmed.
It's a conditional confirmation.
Yeah.
The same thing has happened with baptisms. So there are certain Protestant groups where it's pretty certain, it seems beyond doubt that they validly baptized. Sometimes there's even video evidence of it and so forth. They do so in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and they dunk you thrice, or they pour water over your head thrice, things like that. It's
not I like he says thrice. Selah.
Thrice. Oh.
There's a rhyme too. I don't know, but I just like thrice. I think it's funny. He doesn't say 3 times. He says thrice.
I love how he always talks to his audience like they're retarded. He talks in such a weird manner. Like, can you imagine eating dinner with him? Like, can you pass me the cranberries? Oh, these cranberries are not actually blueberries. In fact, blueberries are not eaten at dinner usually in Canada. And you're like, why?
What was that?
Why does he talk like this?
With the goose?
Yeah, he just like keeps going on.
This turkey is not a Canadian geese.
It's a Canadian
valid baptism. But in some cases, they're not clear. So when adult converts will come into the Catholic Church,
okay,
and there's doubt about the validity of their baptism, which may be valid, but there's just doubt because they're not really sure, then when they're brought into the church, they will conditionally baptize them. So it's not, I baptize you again.
You could have just said that.
If you're not baptized,
that
I
could have been
baptize
the
you in the name of the Father,
right
and Son, and
there.
Holy Ghost, because there is a doubt there. And the same thing is true with confirmations. Many Catholics have been conditionally confirmed. And often it's the choice of the person. They just don't really know what happened to them when they were 11 or 12 or 13 years old because they're 60 or whatever. And they don't know what happened in the 1970s and 80s when they were confirmed. And they're just kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know. And I can't really confirm it because it was so long ago. And I'm just going to be conditionally confirmed. And that's why you see a lot of that in tradition in general. Sorry, my son just walked in there, so I had to edit this. So I want to go back and make sure I'm saying the right thing. So
this was a 15-minute video with edits. Does this guy have a life?
You could have just like, this is just like in less than a minute, this could have been answered. Because of the words being used at the time of their baptism or their confirmation, they get conditionally baptized or conditionally confirmed, and that's all. Okay. Because the matter might not have been olive oil that they used, or they might have said, like, in the name of the creator and the whatever, whatever.
They're full-blown New York liberals now, or California liberals?
Well, I mean, isn't there like a priest who had a video of his baptism, and it was like they did that, and it was in the Catholic Church, and he became a priest, and like they're like, wait a second, everything you've done, all your confessions you gave, all that, it's meaningless. Yay! Last rites from a nun, for someone who's not even baptized. Yay! But he had the desire to be baptized. No, it doesn't work.
Yeah, he might go to heaven and you're going to hell for all eternity. You died in a state of, quote, sanctifying grace, unquote. God's like, a grave injustice, man. Bye.
Later.
Yes. But in any case, many people will be conditionally confirmed. And there's no harm in that. I don't know if it happens in like the Fraternity of St. Peter, etc. I actually don't know. So I can't speak on that, but I know it's super common in traditional Catholic circles, generally speaking, in the SSPX. And there are diversity of opinions. I have talked to
that's interesting
traditional Catholic priests in the SSPX who basically say they have no issue with the validity on paper of the new rite confirmations, but they will say, you know, I would check with your chancery, with your diocese, where you would confirm to see what was used as far as the material. And as long as you're certain that, and they're certain that they've used properly, properly consecrated oils with the right matter, then there's no issue. That was my experience for me personally. I know that my diocese, as bad as things can be, they are certain that they've been using olive oil since time immemorial and it hasn't been an issue. And I've witnessed the confirmations in my diocese, and they do follow the book to the letter, so it doesn't really seem like there's an issue.
Yes,
now,
this
some
is olive oil.
have an opinion that there's no way that the new rite of confirmation is valid as such, because again, they dispute the notion of the validity of the priest as such.
Wait a second. Are you using avocado oil?
It's delicious.
Is this extra virgin olive oil or is this just regular olive oil?
Which is common in the state of Vacantist circles. And that's probably what's happening with your friends. Now, is why they've decided to go to a State of Vacantist chapel 3 hours away rather than go to the SSPX. I can only speculate. But there are a variety of.
He just said that they do not reconfirmations, but conditional confirmations in the SSPX. And he's reading a letter from an SSPX person saying that her friend went sede vacantis and she's concerned because he got conditionally confirmed in that sede vacantis one. Even though they do the same thing with Novus Ordo.
What am I missing here?
How was she concerned? They do it too. The one you're in.
Yeah, but they're Americans.
Yeah, but ours is right. Right? Is that what that is?
All bullshit. I tell you, every single 90% of everything the SSPX does is just for bullshitting. Not the SSPX people who go to it. The people who do the content and the priests there. They just make stuff up. That's why Bishop Wall left them. His parishioners approached him. They said, "Oh, what about these documents? We don't like them." And he was like, I do not like them either. And they were like, well, you can't stay a SSPX priest and say you don't like these documents. He's like, yeah, I guess I am a sede vacantis.
Oui, oui. C'est la vie.
Doesn't anyone just pick a lane and stay?
Opinions about a variety of opinions out there about, who are the valid priests left in the world. A lot of Sede Vacantists will attend the SSPX and other traditional Catholic parishes in general. They don't have a problem as long as the priest is validly ordained, in their opinion, with the old rite. They just sort of have a disagreement about the validity of the popes. Another story for another day. But there are some Sede Vacantist groups that do become very exclusive, and basically no one ordained in the new rite is valid. There are no valid bishops left on earth, except for maybe the SSPX bishops, and then obviously the ones consecrated in the Sede Vacantist world. But even there's some dispute because a lot of them will say
but he won't talk about them
because the SSP
and in the East they haven't.
And in the East, and in the old Catholics, and in a bunch of little places where there's 1 to 2 bishops, and they just keep making another bishop in procession. The Franciscans of the strict observance also have a bishop. It's like, no. There's like 50 of these bishops running around, with 2 of them being in the SSPX.
I didn't want to leave his face like that.
He's just always got bishop envy. I tell you, SSPX do not exist without bishop envy.
Yeah,
it is wonderful.
And bishops say the name of the Pope in the Mass when they recite the Roman canon and so forth and whatnot, that they're communing with the anti-church and so on and so forth, so they'll even stay away from them. So, quite frankly, I don't think that that's wise, and I don't ascribe to that. That's called the unacum thesis. Unacum meaning one with. So they believe that when you say unacum, the bishop, one with the bishop and pope, the bishop of the diocese and the pope, they basically say that's no bueno, and that makes the mass invalid, and all these kinds of things.
That's no bueno. Get your own lingo. You're
a lot
Canadian.
of Sedevacantists don't agree with that. There's kind of a war amongst Sedevacantist theologians about the whole unacum thing. So it sounds like your friends, whoever they are, have adopted the opinion that is a minority view within Sedevacantism. I think it's minority view. Maybe it's 50-50, I don't know, but it's not the view of all Sedes, that there's no such thing as that. They've adopted the view that there's no valid ordination, there's no valid sacraments basically anywhere but in Sedevacantism because of problems with ordinations, and because even priests like the SSPX, they commune with the anti-church, and therefore they're not in the church. That's kind of the idea. That the groups that think like that are generally speaking.
All right.
Yes, NGM, you are 100% correct, and we've already gone over this. They would be conditionally reconfirmed, not reconfirmed. Conditionally.
Right, they would be conditionally. Yes.
Mr. Hall just seems to misunderstand what he's talking about. It just really annoys me.
Yeah.
Because Sedevacantism is not a dogmatic thing. We have no pope to enforce our opinions. It's true, that's what I believe, but because it's not dogmatic, we can't say without a doubt you cannot do certain things. So if you say I'm a Sedevacantist, it means I've accepted there's a positive, real doubt about the new sacrament. Therefore, under pain of sin, I am placing upon myself. Just like when I believe there's a positive, real doubt that I'm married to this hot chick over here, I must abstain from relations with her. I just don't get to be like, yeah, but she's hot, so for this week she is my wife, and then for next week she's not.
It's no bueno. No, no probalo, sir. She's hot.
Excuse me. Is she hot? If
no
yes,
probalo.
then she's licit to you.
What? Then she is not no bueno. She is no probalo.
Associated with the CMRI, which is a group of Sedevacantist priests. And I know of some of these guys who, they will not have anything to do with the SSPX because they think that they're outside the church. That's kind of like the Novus Ordo Watch crowd who go after me all the time because they can't stand me because I'm, promoting the anti-church or whatever.
Really?
So it sounds like you're gotten into that. Now,
no, he's a retarded person who only believes he is his own pope. Like seriously, John Farrell has the same problem with Father Imperato with Kennedy Hall, except John Farrell actually bothers to talk to people. And that is, you're all insane and you don't talk to people. And then you're like, well, they don't want to talk to me because they don't want to listen to what I have to say. I send them my content and don't live stream with them. It's like, they're all busy. Traditionalist priests are generally busy and have a life.
Mere tradition. A Protestant title I took for myself.
Okay, let's keep going.
As far as the reconfirmation or the conditional, there's no real problem with having a conditional confirmation or any sacrament for that matter when there's a doubt. There was this scandal a couple years ago of all the invalid masses taking place, and I think it was Kansas, because of some priests with the monkey business with the wine they were using, which is probably indicative of something that's happened all over the place. And I did a video with Father Charles Murr where he saw that sort of thing when he was a parish priest in New York, and he had to clean up that mess because one of his fellow priests was using water instead of wine for mass because he was an alcoholic. And he's like, my goodness, all these masses that you celebrated were invalid. Like, things like that have happened. And 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, there was that, I think it was in Michigan. I think he was a priest in Michigan. Well, it turned out he was never validly baptized because he was baptized with the wrong formula, which he found from an old home movie. So he wasn't even a priest. And he was horrified by this. This wasn't his fault. So he was baptized, confirmed, and ordained within like 48 hours to make sure that everything was up to snuff. And this was even admitted by the local Novus Ordo bishop. So this stuff does happen. So there can be prudence involved. But that's not the same thing as what some people will do when they adopt certain sedevacantist mentalities and they sort of separate themselves from anyone who isn't part of the same Seder group because they believe that pretty much everybody is invalid and there's basically no priest left on it.
Kennedy Hall, what about war mentalities? why so sexist, Kennedy Hall?
Or
Are you
except for the ones that
denying
they
something?
see. So that's the Cole's notes of the answer. I hope that helps. So again, if you're watching this video, it's this has been released to the general public. But if you want to ask questions like this, you can do so with the subscriber chat, and you can find the link for signing up as a premium sub to Substack underneath, and you can be involved. And to all my subs, there will be a new video coming out soon, next day or two, about a lot of the questions in the subscriber chat, and we will do a deep dive into all.
We literally cover this in a normal chat all the time.
You know what I like about Kenny Hall though? You know what I like about him? He never forgets about his fan
quandaries. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all.
He keeps his fans right behind him. See what I'm saying?
I forget that it's summer. It's so cold.
Let's go back to this one. Let's see. What were we doing? I forget. Luminous Mysteries? What?
Yeah, we're always doing Luminous Mysteries.
Hey, wake up. It's Thursday. Let's pray the luminous mysteries together. The ones recommended by Pope John Paul II.
Get luminous, 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 luminous, get luminous, luminous, get luminous, luminous, get luminous, luminous, get luminous.
Always gay.
Always gay.
Laugh. Quote me on this. Quote. Laugh. Be gay and do crime. Motto. People. Quote me on the laugh. Gay. Always crime. Quote me on the laugh. Gay. Always crime. Quote me on the laugh. Gay. Always crime.
If Bannister makes videos, we will Selahcast on my channel.
Yeah, ooh.
Because we gotta milk this for all it's worth.
Oh, Selahcast on a real channel.
Channel with one more function than our channel.
Yay. A subsidiary of Sede Picante.
Wait, who's the subsidiary?
We are Selahcast, a subsidiary of the Sede Picante network. Oh, I didn't know he said that. Oh, is he in the chat in that deuteronomical thing?
Yeah, he was there. I posted a few of the logs in the Discord.
Be gay and do crime. Quote me on this. Quote me on this. The mum. Oh, it's so wonderful.
Loophole that everybody uses, and even Layla is falling for it. And I'll tell you why in a second. If civil divorce remains the only possible way of ensuring certain legal rights, the care of the children and the protection of inheritance, it can be tolerated and does not constitute a moral offense. Notice they don't say does not violate nature, because we don't go there anymore, because after Vatican II, there's no more marriage contract, even though they talk about it. There's no nuts and bolts to the contract because it's a total gift of self. And then she says, why is it not a sin? Because in accessing the legal help according to the strict limits above, the spouse is not presuming or intending to break the marital contract. That's not why it's not a sin. It's not a sin because if you need the civil law to back up your grave cause, then you can. Of course, that can only be done through the local ordinary, which she does admit down below, but still she violates that very law in this article. We'll get to that. So she says, why is it not a sin? Because you are not intending to break the marital contract, which goes back to what we said before, to our divorce. She goes, it's not a sin against natural law to break the contract as long as it's not in your head. Okay, so as long as you know your divorce a vinculo, as in the marriage bond is still there, you can go ahead and break this contract as long as you know you're still married.
Is she talking about deception? No, it's deception. Is she talking about separation? Selah?
I don't know. This sounds like really weird.
Yeah, it sounds odd.
And also, in your head is a weird statement.
Yeah.
Isn't the statement in your heart or like in your conscience?
Or your intent?
Yeah.
Your intention. Always intention with you guys.
Yeah, you guys got to stop this. Well, now you're Catholic Christian. Oh, why is everything got to be black and white with you? Oh, man. You like the piano music?
Yeah.
No. Doesn't make any difference what you do to your kids with a chainsaw between your head. You're cutting their arms and legs off. Doesn't matter. Okay, that chainsaw is doing something. All right. So what you're thinking about as far as divorce goes doesn't that divorce.
There we go. Hold on. Where are we? Share this.
Therefore, he who is prudent will keep silent in such a time.
You look so young there.
For it's an evil time. When I first read this, I almost didn't use it.
That's a lot of cuts.
I thought, and I said, how can I be silent? How can I do that?
How can you be
Why
silent?
Is that in the Bible?
It's a miracle.
And why an evil time? Is it an evil time now? Am I trying to be prudent? Am I being silent? Do we just throw up our hands?
What's up with the cuts?
What do we do?
Is this his or is this someone making fun of him?
All the more reason to think through what's required of your life. Why did God make you? Like the wise friend of mine said, God didn't call you to be a narcissist. God didn't call you to Leviathan. He did not call you to feed the panopticon. He did not tell you to serve the beast that is now gobbling up everything and trying to control you.
The panopticon? What?
I tell you, some people just make up terms. Like when I do it, it's satirical and funny. Like the Military Industrial Congressional Media Corporation known as Sede Picante. You're like, okay, yeah, that's retarded. And he's like, the Pentagon, the Panoctagon.
Yo,
you didn't see that one coming. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
What are the jump cuts all about?
He must have edited this himself. This is his perfect video.
Okay.
Your lives.
This is his best content.
That are there to ravage you and your children. But I don't have that answer for you. Just like my friend doesn't have an answer for me. It's weird that I'm having this conversation because the truth is, I felt that doing what I'm doing even right now, that's a calling, right? Is this genuinely what I'm called to do? Shoot stuff out into the air that's essentially spamming the world.
No.
It's some humble pie to
the
say
hell up.
And I'm eating humble pie right now.
Oh.
By the way, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank all of you. There's so many people. By the way, I see the other comments by Stephanie. And she's talking to me. He talks about the entire subject, whatever it may be. He's genuine in his explanation. Whether we want to hear it or not, I got mad respect for the head of the wolf.
Selah.
One day you will need to.
This is literally every other podcast I watch. Exactly this content. I'm so like genuine, guys. I'm the only one. This is the best show. Guys, no one. You need to hear this. Like this thing that I'm doing here, that I'm the only one doing. This is the genuine guy who does the thing. Like you need to hear this, and I'm like called to say this genuine thing, and just to tell the whole world. Like, take me now. Take me now. He's amazing. He is amazing. I don't get it.
Read me to know. You'll need to read me to hear me. Then I'll speak more loudly and more clearly than I ever have. Because at the end of the day, to all of you, and I genuinely love you guys, you don't even know what this is like. The very people who might be sad about some of the decisions that I'm.
They do that too in the podcast I watch. I love my audience. You out there in the ether, I love you. I love that you're subscribed to me. I love it. And I'm called to say this to you. And you might be uncomfortable with me being this close to the camera. But I love you. I love you. It's like, this is some weird cult stuff. No. This is horrible. Why?
I'm going to be making are the same ones who.
Never mind. All right. Okay. Let's go back to our John Farrell.
First judge is going to slice and dice your family. Doesn't matter what you think about it.
I gotta go get some more water. I'm all out.
But wait, there's more. All right, here. Let's go back to where we was. So,
I think we can put this guy on then.
This was kind of all, and many people said, you guys should really repent, and you offend me.
I wish he would do more of these.
One presumption or intention is irrelevant to natural law. That is correct. You jump off a tall building and you don't believe you're going to hit the ground hard. Doesn't make any difference what you believe. Okay. So she is saying that you can take your divorce, you can go take your marriage contract to court. If you think, as long as you know that it's not breaking the contract. You mean the bond? Of course it's breaking the contract because the contract says you have to live together. So you're breaking your contract. It's just nuts what she's saying here. P.S. I don't do live streams so much because I'm trying to be precise in these videos, but I definitely will pick up all the slack in the comments. So
no, you won't. No,
that,
you
that I want
won't.
to do is
You
invite
know-
you to comment as much as you possibly want, and we're going to talk, and I will respond as much as you got. So there's no problem. I don't shadow ban or block anybody. Some of the stuff I've got on this, I'm going to do something from Crisis Magazine where I'm blocked on that. I have other accounts I can get to it, but sorry. Listen, she says, as I have written elsewhere, it's a shame that we can't call this protective legal maneuver something other than divorce so that we don't become confused. Yes, that is a shame, but I have the answer. It's called just go back to old-fashioned Catholicism, okay? It's called putting away, Layla. That's what it's called. There's two kinds of divorce. There's putting away, which is mensa et thoro, which is separation from bed and board. And there's a bill of divorce, which is a vinculo, which is eliminating the bond. Two kinds of divorce. Catholics can only do the first kind. It's called putting away, which is in your Douay Rheims Bible, which doesn't get looked at anymore, and it's all been reworded with the New American Bible and all that stuff. Okay, so I wrote here, we call it putting away. Okay, but legalized NFP won't allow that because the new total gift of self cannot be contracted. So yes, NFP has created a new legal object of consent for marriage. It used to be the right over the body for acts, but NFP requires the legal telos of love, which means no more marital debt because we just have marital love. As Christopher West likes to talk about, the only thing we owe each other is love, right? So no more marital debt and no more contract. It's covenant, blah, blah, blah.
So what happened with you and your wife? She wouldn't give me any telos.
We call it putting. So in Matthew 19:9, it says you
I'm
shall
muted.
you can put away your spouse. Legalized NFP will not allow that because of the new total gift of self cannot be contracted. So Matthew 19:9 exception clause must now mean, okay, so now, yes, I wonder what Layla Miller thinks about what Matthew 19:9 really means.
Yeah.
She could talk to her good buddy, Father Dave Nix, to get it straight because he's got it straight now. It's going to conflict and clash with legalized NFP. There's no way around it. This is why Matthew 19:9 changed after Vatican II to accommodate the new non-definition of marriage, the new non-just, non-contract. All right.
Selah.
So now Matthew 19:9.
I love that John Farrell is right here, and then he goes and spends all his time defending Vatican II. Oh, it's not a council I have to believe in, I'm not required to. It didn't say anything dogmatically. It's like, what's the big problem? You already say that it's a terrible council and that it's awful.
Yeah.
Just finish.
I don't know.
Exception clause must now mean for invalidity instead of fornication, adultery. Basically, after NFP or legalized NFP, there is no more marriage contract, only the bond, aka irrevocable covenant from Canon 1057.2.
Yes.
That's right. This is why everyone says divorce is not a sin, only remarriage after annulment, without an annulment is. This is because with the new definition of marriage, there is no contract, there is no rights specified. Because they're infinite. They're not defined. They cannot be defined. So there is no contract. There's stuff in there that you can see, but there's a ton you can't see after when you make NFP legal, and love is the new object of consent. So you're basically consenting to some irrevocable covenant, which is undefined. This is why divorce does no longer offend natural law. Which is why Layla is saying, as long as you think you're not getting divorced, you're not removing the bond, you can take it to court. But if you do think you're removing the bond, you can't. Wrong. You can't touch that contract because it's nature you're touching. Doesn't matter what you think. Okay, like she says. Here. Divorce is
Touch
mental.
my
That's
nature.
where she's at.
exciting and new. Come aboard. You're expecting you.
Kids, this is why divorce is wrong. This is why we didn't get a lot of divorce until Vatican II, because they've changed the contract. They have eliminated the objective contract to accommodate legal NFP, which is the total gift of self. Don't ask any questions. If it doesn't work out, divorce and annul. Divorce is not a sin. I am kind of a little bit surprised that Catholic Answers actually published this thing, because this is not their gig. They don't like to talk about how you need the bishop's permission. However, she put enough disclaimers or enough contrary information.
Wait, I'm not drinking tonight. No.
Plus, Layla will always often say, this is canon law, and the bishop.
It's cream soda.
Oh, that's even better.
I know. Although it doesn't taste as good as it used to. I've got IBC cream soda because I was like, man, I haven't had cream soda in forever. It's not like I remember, though. Oh, well.
Which don't follow it anyway. It's divine law to get the bishop's permission to separate, because what God has joined, let not man put asunder. And once the church has gotten into public recognition of it,
have you ever
done through the.
You ever had red cream soda?
I don't know. I don't know. Drink cream sodas.
When I was when I lived in Virginia, there was a place. It was called Big Red. Was the name of this cream soda? It was like red colored cream soda. It was delicious. Oh, it was good.
Sounds good. It's one of the few things Americans are good at.
Soda pop,
making delicious things.
Yeah.
Bishop, according to divine law, that's 1692. Canon 1692. More on that if we need to. This is why I like to have the comments open, and we can nail everything down in the comments accurately, rather than me just flying by the seat of my pants on stuff. Let alone trying to do a live stream, with all the
with the 18 people that watch.
Man, we can try, I guess. I'll see. We'll get there. But listen, let us continue.
We just can't do it,
Here
Phil,
is
because then he
Matthew
has to derail us.
19:9. The Douay Reams, which is the version, the translation you got to get it.
So many people sit there like he does on the Prague podcast.
Why then did so the Pharisees are talking to Jesus? Why did Moses command a bill of divorce and to put away? Look at that. Bill of divorce, avin kulo, and to put away, mensa et thoro. He said to them, because Moses, by reason of the hardness of your heart, permitted you to put away your wives, because you're going to kill your wives if we didn't let you. But from the beginning, it was not so. And I say to you that whoever shall put away his wife, got that? Put away. That means separate with the bond remaining, except it be for fornication. So if the spouse is doing something against marriage, you can put them away.
Okay.
By the way, Proverbs 18:22 says, you are wicked and foolish if you don't put away your adulterous spouse. So you need to do that. Nobody talks about that anymore, because there's nothing to put away because there's no contract. It violates the notion of justice in contract. You just call it invalid. That's what they do. And shall marry another, committeth adultery. Yeah. Okay. So he says, except to be for fornication. Here is the commentary from Douay Reams, which has stood the test of time. It's been there for 500 years. Excepted be means in the case of fornication, that is adultery, the wife may be put away, but even then the husband cannot marry as long as the wife's still living. Okay, so you can put away your spouse, but you can never remarry. There's separation with the bond remaining.
You can put away your spouse, but you can never leave.
Welcome to the
Hotel NFP.
Such a lovely place.
Such a lovely place.
Life's sweetest reward. Let it flow. It floats back to you. Love boat. Soon we'll be making another run. The love boat promises something for everyone. Said.
Then she goes on. Thankfully, most states still offer legal separation instead of civil divorce. Well, okay, hold it right there. Let's just say that's true. Okay, it is true. Most states still offer legal separation. This means that if you take your divorce to the state where there's legal separation available, that is public grave sin, because the state and the church are supposed to kind of work together. The state is public recognition. So when you take,
I only like private grave sin. Nick Gerbongos. You podcasting bully.
This is the face you need to do on the podcast. But if it's a public good, so the state has a public say in it, right? That's what John Farrell was saying. But then the state doesn't have a public say when it refers to procreation. That's also John Farrell's position.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I don't know how this works. I should make a note. This 21.
Stop drinking that blueberry wine and drink the wine. Yeah. Apple wine.
take your public bond from the church and take it to the state and say it's not a public bond anymore, this is scandal. All right. And it invites adultery and all sorts of stuff. So Layla, you have to tell everybody that if you file for divorce while there's legal separation available in your state, that's public grave sin. Okay. Let's go on. I got some more to say about that, which provides the necessary legal protections, which also affirming that estranged husband and wife are still married, they cannot remarry. In those rare and difficult situations, Catholics should be recommending separation rather than civil divorce if possible. Catholics should be recommending separation. No, they should be told they have to separate. They have to do separation only rather than divorce, because if they don't, they're not going to heaven. That's what they must be told, not kind of recommend it. All right. P.S. Let's look at this footnote I wrote while it's on my mind here, right here. Okay. We'll make it big. Let's see. I'll just read it here, right here. States without legal separation recognize, I took this from a website in Florida. Okay. So Florida has no legal separation. Texas, there's a few other states. So what is
Florida has a website?
What is that? That's where all alligators and hicks.
Are you talking about Florida Hernandez?
Or his brother, Florida Venezuela.
Why is Florida on the internet?
Florida say on its website? States without legal separation recognize separation agreements.
Did you hear what he just said? Selah. He said Florida on its website. Respect genders. What do you mean it's? It's a her.
Don't say that about Florida.
Poor Florida. Misgendered.
Specific legal agreements relate to formalizing the terms of a separation in Florida. These include a separation agreement. This legally binding agreement can provide the same result as legal separation in other jurisdictions. Okay.
Is there another
2383.
time
If there's
influence
no
too,
other way, you can divorce. Layla Miller, there is always another way in
27
every
minutes.
state
He has
in
a
the country.
timestamp.
This one?
27?
29 right
No,
now.
go 27.
Go to 27. Okay. 27. 27.
The intent or belief that he is doing that. That's what they're saying. That's what she's saying.
Oh, okay. The
As long
actual
as I
timeline
think-
is
Let's go back.
2652. Yeah.
That no one may use the civil or family courts with the intent or belief that he is ending his marriage. He is not, and is free to move on. This is more crazy from Layla Miller right here. No one may take a chainsaw and cut their children in half with the intent or belief that he is doing that. That's what they're saying.
With the belief that he's going to kill them, he means. Yeah, I don't believe in this whole intent stuff. The more I hear it, the more it sounds stupid. And it's like this like random thing that could possibly hypothetical could happen in your intention, that you are an idiot and you don't understand what you're doing. Like, people sin and they know what they're doing, said AP.
What?
Believe
No,
it or
not me.
not.
No, not me.
Not me. Every sin I do, because I don't know it's a sin.
I don't know it's a sin. Did you know I didn't know that it was a sin?
Isn't wait, not knowing it's a sin, is that a sin?
What if I intentionally not knowing it's a sin? Is that not knowing it's a
If
sin?
I ignored that it's a sin, is that the same as not knowing that it's a sin?
There's a lot to think about here.
That's what she's saying. As long as I think I'm loving my children and I'm doing the right thing, I can cut their arms and legs off. And it's because it's how it's because I have the intent and the belief that I'm not.
Well, Selah, I mean, didn't people used to do that to their kids? Like they would like give them lobotomies because they were overactive or something, or they would electroshock therapy, right? I mean, so people have done that. Yeah.
Yes, but like
with the intent that it's good for them, not with the intent of I don't know, whatever.
Hurting them. So, you know, just like I love my baby, that's why that's why I aborted my baby, because I love them. That's how sick it is. So nuts.
That's why I gave him 46 vaccines. Yay!
This is why there's separation courts on church property. As I repeat myself, the church is the bishops are scared to death now because they've let NFP in the door, which means the contract is out the door, which means they can't adjudicate jack, and they let the state do it, and the state is godless, and the kids get shredded. Okay. So they're like, well, we just got to throw more love at the problem. Why don't we have, instead of 6-month marriage prep, let's do 6 years, stuff like that.
Wait a minute.
They don't say that,
So,
but you know.
what if you don't have kids?
Then who you gonna cut up with the chainsaw?
Did his kids forget to celebrate Father's Day or something?
All right. So
no, they celebrated it. He said they did.
So one may use a civil court, and on to the next romance. Here's what I wrote. Yes, intent or belief has zero to do with natural law. Layla Miller would agree with that statement. So how can we say that we can offend natural law based on our intent or belief? Makes no sense. You can't do it. I can shred my family as long as I intend or believe that I am not, or as long as I think I am still married, I can go ahead and do this bad stuff. You can't do that. And I know she would say, well, if you have a grave cause or, you're trying to help your kids out, has nothing to do with whether you think you're still married or not. Okay. In other words, one may, and she's saying, so this is my paraphrase. In other words, she's saying one may use state power to change the terms of the contract, violate natural law. No one can violate that natural contract by using the state. Doesn't matter if you still think you're staying married or not, has nothing to do with it. Okay, so but wait, there's more. Hang on.
But
I'm
wait,
trying to be
there's
very
more.
fair, okay? I'm not just like, I'm super mad. And no, I'm not. I'm trying to get this straight, which is why I always, if you want to call me on the phone, it's 206-501-8910.
Is there anything more less addictive than dried fruit? That's good. I can't stop
Apricots?
eating it.
I could
Yeah, man.
maybe apricot jam is more addictive, especially
Dude,
on
it's-
like nice bread or toasted. On
So you know,
butter.
Costco used to have the thick bread with 3 C's.
I
It
didn't
was
know
this
that.
thick raisin bread, and they also had a cran raisin bread, and it was like, yeah, it was like eating cake in raisin bread form. And it was insane.
There's a place here. We got like Iggy's bread, and they do these like it's cranberry pecan rolls, bread rolls, and it is so good. It's so addictive. Like, they sell it in these rounds and these little like. Anyway, you can buy a whole bag of those, and like they're gone in an hour, and you're like, where did that go? 8675301.
No, I posted the number in the Discord.
Should we all just call him now? Should like everyone get on their phone and just give it a call? You ready? Are you calling?
No, I don't do this stuff. This is annoying.
You're like he might pick up.
Yeah, I know. It's like he wakes up and like, oh hi guys, then just hang up. What if he saves my phone number and calls me up?
What's your phone number, ZAP? 1-800-JP3 for life. Let's see.
All my contact info is out there. I'm super easy to reach, and I'll take all comers. Nor will I get mad or nothing. Don't get mad no more, George. What about moving on?
I think we can make him mad. I think we could.
I think we could, because like you know him because like he respects you as an older person. Like, why don't you act normally, man?
Annulment, as everyone seems to do, although it's true that we have sadly cultivated a culture of reflexive annulment seeking, you may be surprised by the following truth. Physical separation is allowed for certain grave reasons, but in all cases, the hopeful expectation is for reconciliation. That's true. The church teaches that in cases of unrepentant adultery or for grave mental or physical danger, physical separation of spouses is allowed with the bishop's permission. Ding, ding, ding. Very good. Absolutely correct. Yes. How this got in the Catholic Answers article, I don't know. It's just totally weird. But again, what Lila tends to say in the small print, or she'll say, this is just canon law and the bishops don't follow it. Therefore, since they don't follow it, you don't kind of have to either. No. You do have to, because it's divine law, because it's connected to natural law. Canon 87 says that there's no bishop.
Canon law is not divine law. It's ecclesiastical law, and natural law is not ecclesiastical law. He literally just equivocated 3 different things that have nothing to do with each other. How does he do this? This is kind of incredible. Are we about done here, or Oh, okay. There we go. Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 Wonder what you're doing. Oh.
Aw.
That's fantastic.
I've never been a peanut.
I've never been a peanut.
I'm more of like a
gallery.
I'm more like a walnut. So,
Isn't it
all right,
kind of late for you?
It is kind of late, and we're at the halfway point, 30:48. So we'll leave it there. And
Sounds good.
I gotta find the Master Bowser song, but you can leave if you need to. Set AP. Let's see. Selahcast. Thanks for showing up.
Sorry I was late. Didn't know we were going live. You did say that we weren't going live again until July. I'm not just like, okay, I'll go on a walk. Take a nice peaceful walk. Clear my head. Be at peace with the world. And then, we're live. Okay.
Yay!
Yay!
Now I gotta find my channel from you. I don't think I'm subscribed to myself. For my, so. No. All right, I'll just look it up here. My videos. Find the Bowser video. Find the Bowser video. Here we go. And then from here, I'll copy the link. Then I'll put the link in here. Then I'll subscribe to myself so I don't have to do this again.
Christine House is on the loose, and she's hunting for another golden goose. Maybe she can find some drama to get some money with a disposition that is very sunny. Oh, I think that she will talk about weird stuffs. She just can't seem to put down that she has the cuffs of the man who left her behind on the cruise. Christine chugs the wine and just sings all the blues. And it's only Christine, Christine, Christine. It's so lamenty, Christine, Christine, Christine. Me importas tú, y tú, inadimas que tú. Pollos negros, piel canela, que me llegan a desesperar. Me importas tú, y tú, Christine. It's only you. It's you. It's you. Oh, Christine, it's you. It's you. It's you. Everything is Christine. Da 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 da